All right, all right. Welcome back. So today we're going to do a deal breakdown. We just went through a recent BRRR method on a property, and I wanted to sit down with Misty and let's kind of break this thing down. We hope to talk about some lessons we've learned, get an idea of give you guys an idea of the real stuff that goes on because everybody talks about all the oh man, this was great. I made so much cash, and we made money on the deal, but it wasn't it's not a home run, and not everyone's going to be a home run, but there were some home runs in the deal that can be come to fruition later on. So let's jump into it. So just kind of start off. When we this deal that we had bought it in 2021,
Yes.
right? And it's crazy, man. I start to like lose track. So, dude, bought it in 2021, and we did it through sending out letters. So we had a certain target that we were after,
Certain neighborhood.
a certain neighborhood that we really like, and I've been eyeballing this neighborhood for quite some time, and so we were targeting it through letters, and we were getting, we're getting responses, we're getting calls. We found personally that some of the best marketing that we've done was off of letters. It's just,
Yeah, the personal touch.
yeah, the personal touch. So, but
Handwritten letters.
handwritten letters. Yeah, yeah, that was probably the biggest difference is handwritten letters. So anyone listens to this, if you're marketing for houses, or any property, handwritten can go a long way. Now, of course, it can take quite some time, right? But it definitely goes a long way. And so with our target market, those individuals like handwritten letters, and we get a response. I've had some crazy ones, by the way. So, on a side note, I did have one person tell me you wrote in red ink, and that's the sign of the devil. Do you remember that one, Misty?
Yes.
That lady was wild. So, but we're not going to talk about her today. We're going to talk about this grumpy seller. So let's jump into it. So we start out with letters, and I'm going to let Misty kind of start because after sending out letters, she had got a phone call. So I want to hear Misty's perspective. We were actually dropping the kids off at school, and we got the call. So she answered. So I'm going to let you take that away and give me your perspective on that call.
So, of course, you send out hundreds of letters, so you don't have the information at your fingertips when you're on the go when somebody calls you. But yeah, I answer the phone and he's like, "Hey, you wrote me a letter about this property." And I'm like, "Okay, great. Are you looking to sell?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, I just want to see what you want to offer for it." And I'm like, "Well, uh, give me some more information about the property. Is it currently got tenants in it? What's the situation?" And he was just getting very frustrated that I didn't have an offer ready for him, ready to go.
They all do that, right? Every time I can't tell you how many calls we've had where someone's like, "Well, make me an offer." I can't just
I have never seen the inside of the house. I don't
yeah, I
know.
mean, that can make you a blind one. So he was pretty grumpy, right?
Yeah, and so I asked him a couple of questions. He got irritated with me and just ended up hanging up on me. And so I was kind of like, "Oh, okay." So when we got home, we looked up the property, because, like I said, we sent out hundreds of letters. So I wanted to get a fresh take of what the property was, where it was, how big it was, and when it was built, and all that. And then Christopher called him back.
That's right. Bring in the Christopher. So, well, so when I think what made me call him back was one, I have a thing where I like to cut my teeth on stuff. So, and what I mean by cut your teeth, if you guys don't know what that terminology means, it's like a baby. Your teeth are kind of cutting through the gums, and it's experience, right? Yeah, so I call it, it's called cutting your teeth. I like to get experience. So if it's something I'm either A, not good at, or B, I'm trying to get better at, I'll make the call. I just don't really care. I enjoy that. So I think between the price of the house, because he didn't name a price.
Not at that time yet.
Yeah,
He was
and
mad that I didn't have a price for him.
not a price. So I called back and I was like, hey, Mr. Seller, so I'd love to give you a price, but unfortunately I can't just do that. Um, you know, kind of try to go through some of the same stuff and talk a little bit of reason, and and he's still kind of belligerent and ended up. Did he hang up on me the first
Yes,
time?
he hung up on you again.
hung up me again. Did I recall him back?
hmm
Called him right back. I was like, oh, that's nice.
We must have got disconnected.
Yeah, that's my favorite. We must have got disconnected, and of course, we did not get disconnected at all. That comes from my old cold call days, by the way. If you didn't know, I used to cold call my very, very first business in medical records, and you just get hung up on. And oh man, we must have got disconnected, and you're talking to him again. So do that a lot. But yeah, I called back. So the first time I tried to give some reason, like, hey, we'd love to give you an offer, and then of course we try not to name the price first. That's a huge thing, trying to name the price first. You let them name it, but we still didn't know, condition and all that, and was he serious? We just didn't know that part. But the third call was when I was like, let's go. And of course, I called him right back. Hey, we got disconnected. We didn't. He disconnected the call. And then he says the magical words that I will never forget is he says, I'll take no less than 130. And I thought, Misty, this shit's on. As soon as he said that, I knew because the house it was close to 200,000.
At the time.
At the time, it was close. It wasn't at 200, but it was close. So you start running your numbers, you're talking $70,000 under market value. We still have not seen the inside of the house. And so I had actually, I said, I didn't jump all over it. I think he hung up on me again. And I was, if I remember correctly, I'll take no less than 130. And this kind of like clicked. And I was like, all right, I know where we stand. So I'm not going to jump all over it. I don't need to seem excited. Right. And then we did some homework. And then after that, I called him back another day. You weren't there. You weren't home that day that I called him, but I called him back that day. And then, mind you, the whole time we were doing this, just for fun fact, we were living in the living room, right? Remember that? We were we had our desks in there because of the Texas freeze that happened.
Remember that? That was over a year. We were living in the living room.
It was. But yeah, it seems long ago, doesn't it?
It does.
It seems so long ago, but that was like a few months ago. We were,
We just got back in end of February.
Yeah, that's crazy. So, mind you, while everything else is going on, we're living in the living room. Misty's not home. I give this guy a call and I said, hey, Mr. Seller, I just wanted to let you know that, we'd be happy to offer you 130,000. Now, no, I've never seen this property aside from what we've drove by. I don't even know if we drove by it. Did we drive by it?
I think we did in between that short time period.
It was real short. I mean, we're talking
once we knew what home it was, we did a drive by.
It was real short. And this seller was extremely disgruntled. Like he's just like grumpy as hell.
He had a lot to say, and then he just wanted to hang up on you.
Just wanted to hang up on you
and get it out there.
That was it. And honestly, I wasn't sure if it was going to go through. So I call him and I say, hey, Mr. Seller, I'll take it for 130, and he just kind of stopped.
He didn't know how to respond to that.
He was like, well, damn. He didn't say damn, but his response of silence was, basically said, well, damn. I don't know. Are we doing this? And so, he did not, he just kind of got silent on me. And then of course I start laying it on, whatever, my normal, turn on the enthusiasm and the sales ability. And, he didn't really give us an answer. I'll think about it or whatever. But I was serious. I knew at 130,000, I don't want to negotiate. I don't want to go through all that. If he's going to do it,
let's just do it.
Let's just do it. Exactly. So, he didn't, I think I had another call. I think I called him again later and, just say, hey, did you want to, are you guys, would you like to move forward with it? And he didn't really give me like an answer, and there were tenants that had been in there
for 10 years.
10 years. And so, and we didn't know the full backstory of the house because, again, we hadn't seen it.
according to him, it was the best property in the neighborhood.
Oh, yeah, yeah, that's right. Absolutely. How's the condition? Oh, it's great. It's the best property in the entire neighborhood. I'm gonna let everybody know it is not the best property in the neighborhood. And unfortunately, until the tenants move out, it won't be the best property in the neighborhood. So, but we love the neighborhood, but there's still some room for improvement
There is.
on this property. But it's kind of hard to do that when tenants there. We'll talk about that here in a second. But yeah, every seller, their property is the best damn property. But I think what this guy was thinking was that he was going by what the tax roll said.
Yeah.
And that is a big mistake in regards to a seller, is thinking their property's worth the tax roll.
No, it's going to be a lot closer now
Yeah.
since taxes. The counties have actually, reassessed and came closer to market prices.
Don't remind me, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's after the refinance. So he's going off tax rolls, right? And of course, he had the house. Was he the first
He
one?
was the original owner.
The original owner of the house. Yeah. And this is the 1950s.
I think 51, 55, somewhere in there.
So it's one of those like split, like the washers in the kitchen and the dryers in the garage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's a cool little house. I like the house, but so he's going off original tax rolls, and that's a huge mistake that sellers make. And that's something that, and it's not my job to teach them, right? You're what do you want for it? And he wanted 130. So on the call back, hey, do you want to do this? He still kind of, well, I don't know. And, we got off the call. I don't think he hung up on me on that one, but I was pretty serious. It was like pretty dead serious. And so we ended up, just writing out a contract and drove to his house. And I went to the door to knock on it, and I knocked on the wrong door. And they're looking at me in the window like, who are these people? I'm standing there like contract in hand, waiting for someone to answer. And then Misty's like, I think we're at the wrong house. And I'm like looking at the window like, I see you. I didn't say that, but I'm like, I know I see you. And so they don't answer. And Misty's like, you're at the wrong house. And kind of back up, take a look. We're like, that's the house. Well, the damn thing had a gate on it, so I couldn't knock on the door, and I'm not jumping the gate. I wasn't afraid of a dog or anything. I just, didn't want to jump the gate. I was trespassing. Let's not get too far into it. We've already been a little pushy. So, I think you might agree, Misty, there's a right amount of push.
Yes.
And you don't want to be overly pushy. So I called and I said, hey, Mr. Seller, I am here and I am dropping off a contract for you to review for us to purchase the property for 130, just like you said. I wanted him to know I'm serious. And I had it in hand, and, the wife answers and she's like, well, he's not available. She was a little on the grumpy side herself. Hell, if I was married to him, I probably would be too. You're not gonna be grumpy, are you, Misty?
No.
No? Okay. I can get a little grumpy. I'm like an old man sometimes. So, she's like, he's not here. Just leave it in the mailbox, and, we'll have our realtor look at it. I was like, oh, damn, a realtor's going to get involved. I don't need this shit. So the realtor, we drop it off, and I thought, well, that's it, man. That might just be it right there. And just kept following up, and it was just slow, and it wasn't like follow up every day or, it was just days go by. I'd say, hey, did you guys get a chance
Once
to
or
review
twice
it?
a week.
Yeah. I think I was down to once a week. I just didn't want to be like overly pushy. Just wanted to be like, hey, Mr. Seller, did you get a chance to review it? What are your thoughts? Are we able to move forward? And
yeah, that agent actually reached out to us and wanted an item or two checked differently or something. So.
Well, actually, that didn't happen till later. Remember, we dropped the contract off, and then it was like crickets for about a month to 2 months. That's what I remember. I remember it being, like, did you guys, this, or, you guys want to move forward? And it's like he hemmed and hawed for a while over it, just himself trying to figure out whether or not.
I think he was, contacting the tenant and seeing or if they were wanting to stay or not.
You think he contacted the tenant?
I think so.
I think he was him and hawing. I think he had some
It was
attachment to
probably
it.
both.
Well, remember he lived there at one point, so I think he had some attachment to the property that that's my thought. I don't know. He might have. I don't know if he contacted the tenant till later, but it was about a month and a half, I think. So it's like April, about a month. February, March. Let's say, yeah, about a month or so went by. Follow up a few times, and then just didn't get any response. Just kind of got stonewalled. It was, oh, our agent's looking at it, and then the agents reached out. Asked a couple questions, and we responded, and still didn't really get anything. So then now we're dealing with the agent, and if you guys have ever done, if you've done sales, you know that sometimes when you throw that third party in that is not the decision maker, it just makes the shit even harder. And that's kind of where I was like, dang, man, this is going to make it harder. We've got this agent here that, she's not a part of the deal. So, but they trusted her. She was a neighbor. And, I think when you and I were out, it was Cinco de Mayo, was it not? It was a Cinco de Mayo party.
Oh, yeah.
We were going to a Cinco de Mayo party that we were going to go to with, at one of our friends' daughter's house. And, we were at Sam's. And so this is like beginning of May, and we get Misty. Did you get a phone call or an email?
They get email.
Basically saying, "Are you guys ready to do this?" And the agent did reach out and ask for a few changes, but
Mhm.
they had set on the changes for so long
Yeah.
originally that it wouldn't apply.
Yeah.
And so when she reached out finally after some time of silence, she said, "Hey, you guys ready to do this?" They're ready to go, and so you rushed home before the party and you know whipped up the contract like you were in the kitchen, put it together, and sent it over, and then we executed a contract, which gave
Mhm.
us what 7? Did we do 7 days?
7 or 10, I can't
I think it was 7. I think we were just like we didn't really. I didn't really care.
remember.
I'll do no option period if you ask me sometimes. Not saying that's a good idea, but I think we've done this enough that pretty much walk in and might be this. So, um, but yeah, we didn't. We went straight to, went to contract, and then we had 7 days. And so, after going back and forth with the realtor friend, we still had to go back and forth a little bit. Not really as much. Once we got under contract, she kind of dropped out of the picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, she just was like a protection mechanism. So, um, but actually, we didn't execute. We actually executed at their kitchen table. That was the difference. So, or at their
Patio.
patio table. So she said, "Are you guys ready to do this?" So Misty, we wrote it up. Yes, we scheduled a time, and then it was the next week. We actually showed up at their house. We scheduled time to show up, sit at the patio, and execute the contract. So, and go through it with them. So, in fact, we showed up and we had to come back. We missed something.
They we didn't have to, but they didn't have the seller's disclosure and I think one other document they had to get.
Yeah, no, and that's huge, especially single family, because that gave us a huge out
Mhm.
if we didn't have that. They gave us a huge out. So, but we executed the patio table. I remember sitting there talking with him and his wife. Wasn't a whole lot of talking. He's a disgruntled, old man. Um, and she, the base is like, they both said the
They wanna
wife, it's
travel.
they want to travel. Well, they've been traveling.
Yeah, but travel more and not have to worry about that house.
Is that what you remember? See,
Mhm.
what I remember was he's like he just didn't really want to let it go. I know.
She talked him into
Yeah, she talked him into it,
it.
and she's like basically, he never wanted to let it go, but I guess she.
Yeah, they apparently got letters all the time and stuff from people wanting to buy it and stuff, but for some reason ours just spoke to him.
It wasn't the letter. It was me.
The persistent callback.
No, actually, I'm gonna let some of the listeners in on a little trade secret that I learned a long time ago from a mentor of mine. So, when you are the young guy and you're young and you're hungry and you can present humbleness, not arrogant and cockiness, to an older individual, a lot of times they'll see that and they'll be willing to help you.
Mhm.
And that's what I tried to portray to this guy was that, hey, I'm young, we're working to build retirement, just kind of, I call it, and I know if you're listening, to this, you can't see it, but I have like hand motion that I like to do that kind of, it's like a servitude, like, That's kind of the way I think about it is servitude is, you're, and then you're hungry and you want to just kind of, how can I help? You're putting yourself below them if you can, for a moment to say, hey, let me, and it helps because when I see people that are younger than me and they're like that, I'm like, man, I want to help that guy. And that's a little trade secret. So anybody who's listening to this or watching this or whatnot, know that you can steal that, no extra charge. But I learned that a long time ago, and I've used it, and it helps, especially with the older
Does.
individuals. Misty's watched it, so it's usually me that closes that, and I don't mean that in like a ooh ah cocky way, but I just remember being told that at a very young age when I was 19, somewhere in there was a mentor of mine that was like, hey, if you just do this, you can pretty much get what you want, and I was like,
They'll see themselves in you.
yeah,
And
yeah, if you have that capability of making someone see themselves in you, oh, dude, it's over, it's game
a
over.
lot of times, unfortunately, successful people's kids aren't interested in the route that they took
We've
to
seen
be
that.
successful. And so they don't really have that person to pass it down to because their kids aren't interested.
Yeah. So
So when they see somebody that's younger, around their kids' age or whatever, and that is interested in trying to do that, trying to accomplish that and do that and succeed, and
yeah,
yeah, they jump on
looks like you're gonna be the one to get this.
it.
Junior doesn't want it.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. So kind of back to the deal, kind of how things worked. We went with his terms and what he wanted. One of the things he wanted was he wanted to make sure the tenants weren't going to get kicked out.
Yeah. So, yeah, the tenants had been there for over 10 years, and they were basically month to month. There was no lease on file anymore, and they didn't even have a security deposit anymore. The owner had just gave it back to him once. It's like, no, we don't need this anymore, and gave it back to him. So they didn't have a security deposit, didn't have a lease. They've been there forever, and so he just wanted to make sure that as soon as we closed on the property, we weren't gonna kick them out or something. So, they did create a 3-month lease,
Yeah,
and kept them at the rate that they were paying, which was $850.
yeah, that's crazy, man. 850, and this is in a neighborhood where rents are, and they're in the 1400s, by the way. So
14 and 1,500.
yeah, 14, 15. So we had an option period. We went, we made sure that we stuck to his terms. We walked to the house, we looked at it. If you guys ever seen Men in Black, that movie where, in the scene where Will Smith, the first one, and he like hits him with a neuralizer and he goes, all right, and you need to do some decorating here because damn, that's about how I felt in this one. When we walked in, I was like, damn. But it wasn't horrible, but it was very clear there was some deferred maintenance that needed to happen. So, you walk in, you see foundation. We actually had our hard money lender that was with us who we used to walk it because, we didn't purchase this property traditional financing. We bought it with a hard money. And so they walked it with us and, they're looking at it. I'm looking at it and I'm going, how in the hell do you have your, that many clothes in one room and, look like a bomb went off in every bedroom. Like it was crazy, but
And no closet doors.
it wasn't disgusting. It was
Mhm.
just like, just stuff. Like there's a lot of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Every closet door was off. You're just like, man, what are you guys doing? So,
I think one of the bedrooms is basically a closet
right. Just
because
open it up,
just
throw your
there's
clothes in and
clothes
close it.
and boxes of shoes.
I just have this vision. Open the door, throw it in and close it. I'm going in the closet. And yeah, so it's just stuff. That's what it was. And I don't mean like hoarding. It's just the organization.
Yeah.
And if I like organization at home. I'm organized. So you know, as an investor, that doesn't get to me personally. I'm like, so I can look past it. But it needed a new shower. It needed I know that our hard money lender was like, hey, the roof needs to be fixed. And then it needed some foundation work. So it needed some stuff, but it
Yeah,
wasn't
nothing major.
nothing major. We obviously couldn't do what we wanted to it because we didn't plan to kick him out. So we
Yeah,
accepted it.
we weren't gonna flip it,
Yeah.
and we want where it was a buy and hold, so we don't. It's already got tenants in it, unless we were going to like want to pour quite a bit of money into it, kick them out and redo everything just to get new tenants in it that might mess it up anyway. So
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So we bought the property, the hard money loan, we step outside, we're like, "So what do you guys think?" And the hard money lender's like, "Well, we'll do we'll do 115,000." And I think it was like 12% interest rate, right?
Mhm.
And so we're like, that's 15,000 down, sold. No questions asked. And if you guys have, 15,000 down, by the way, is not a whole lot, and especially if it's already a lease that's in place, someone's there. You just
Yeah,
know you got to move the rent up, right?
yeah.
So our payment ended up being, what was the payment on the hard money loan?
1377.
So 1377. So our thought process was, as long as we clear over 1377 for a little while, we know we'll be negative some because we have to, taxes and insurance and whatnot.
Well,
But
the taxes were escrowed.
okay. So
I paid insurance up front, but we knew we'd be negative a little bit because we had that 3 month of 850 payments
mhm.
that we were having to go by. But we knew after that, we can go ahead and start raising the rent.
Yeah. But the home run was the equity that was sitting there. That
Hmm.
was the big part. And I'm a big equity investor. In the long term, if Misty and I, you know, wanted to sell this, there's a substantial amount of equity. So obviously we still have to make some more, you know, repairs to it, but there's a
Yeah.
substantial equity in there. So um, you ended up raising the rent. Talk about that. Tell that story. Like, how did that work? How'd that go about? I didn't do it. So,
Yeah. So the tenants did want to stay. They've been there 10 years. They love the neighborhood, didn't want to have to pack up all their stuff and move. And we really didn't want to have to throw a lot of money into the house to fix it up. So we're like, just stay. But we did have to raise the rent because that wasn't going to work. So I gave them a few different options, that we could either step it up over time, short periods of time, kind of increase the rent gradually, or, raise it all at once, with a 60-day notice or whatever.
and this is where your notorious step up lease came to existence.
Or, they could terminate and or go month to month with a higher rate. And so they chose the step up lease option. And since we were moving from 850 to trying to get towards market rent, which is 1500 for that a home that size, it was quite a bit of a step up. So I gave them I think it was 3 different increases within a 6-month period to get to 1465. So I think they started at 850 and then moved up to like 1095 or something, and then like 1250, and then up to 1465. And then they stayed at that for the remainder of that year. And then we were getting ready to do the cash out refi, and we increased again. But we'll talk about that
Yeah,
here
yeah,
shortly.
had to go up again. So, well, so we actually, because they live there, this was different. If had they not lived there, we probably would have went a little more hard in the paint and actually go and like fix everything up and then try to
Mhm.
cash out, refinance the thing as fast as
Yeah.
possible. But this one
We're trying not to displace people.
yeah, this one we didn't want to displace them. So we kind of let things sit because the values they were still ticking up
Mhm.
without having to do a whole lot of work. So we
Yeah.
kind of let time work its magic. And so we let time work its magic, and over the course of that time, we fixed the shower, and then we ended up doing foundation as well. We fixed the foundation.
We painted the exterior of the home.
Yeah, try to make
There was a plumbing issue we took care of too. And then we replaced a toilet and a dishwasher.
and the roof, which I remember our hard money lender was like, "Hey, that roof is bad. We've got our roofer who we've used for years was like, no, this is fine. Just patch it up.
Yeah,
You're
it
straight."
was like $300 worth
Yeah,
of roof repair.
I'd like to say that every repair we did, we were like, "What's it gonna be?" And then they say it, and we're like,
Okay,
"Man,"
that's not
it was like relieving.
that
We were expecting like this horrible bill, and then they say it, and you're like, $300. Oh, thank God. So it was fine. So we did the repairs, so we're down, right now, kind of, the numbers, we have a $115,000 loan, $15,000 was down. So we're in for 15. By the time repairs were done, we spent about close to 10,000, maybe at close, a little under, but about 10,000. I just rounded up. And so we're in for a total of 25,000. And, that's not even a down payment on some homes nowadays, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you're an
Especially when you're
investor.
doing 20% down
Yeah. So, you
and the
know,
home prices have drastically increased.
absolutely. And so we sat around, we missed the boat on that, but we did sit, as far as interest rates, but we sat around a little bit, let things, kind of go up a little bit more, and then we
Appreciate.
appreciate, and then we ended up doing the cash out refinance. So, we waited for that to happen. Unfortunately, interest rates rose during that wait, and they started rising again right before we started the refi. And
Mm-hmm.
had we just been like a month or two, it wouldn't have been as high of an interest rate. But ultimately, the property was appraised at 225, and we were able to cash out the property. But in order to get that 225 and then also meet the debt service coverage ratio, we had to bump up the rent.
Which actually turned out to be great timing because it was coming up for their renewal.
Yeah. Yeah. So it kind of worked out, because had we not been able to do the renewal part, we wouldn't be able to do the cash out part. So it kind of, again, because we did not r- displace or remove the tenants to actually increase the value of the property and then turn around and refi it, we had to wait. It was, it's a kicker, right? You're either going to have a higher interest rate or a lower interest rate, if we
Or a lower
no
valuation.
evaluation. And so we ended up having to wait. In fact, our interest rate was in the sevens. It's crazy. And, it's just what it was by the time we were done. So,
It was a DSCR loan.
right. Yeah. It's not a personal loan. So, it's a debt service coverage ratio loan. So, it's a little bit different, but the interest rate was higher. It's the highest interest rate we even have on any property. And, that's a whole other animal. We almost didn't even do that deal. But,
Mhm.
we wanted
But it
to,
still made sense. So.
it still made sense. But we ultimately wanted to cash out, get our original money back, because that's what we wanted, plus a little extra. And so we ended up cashing out and
And
getting
we did accomplish that.
and we did. We cashed out 29,000, like 29,100 something, or 29,200, I think. So, you know,
And then we got a check for $100 and something overpay of interest.
I saw that on the counter, by the way. Yeah. So I did see that on the counter. I was wondering, I was going to ask you what that was, but sold. High five, Misty. That's going to be buying our lunch after this podcast, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, so we got $4,000 out of the property tax free. $25,000 was replaced, and all is good in the hood now. So we don't have to worry about that. But
And we did raise the tenants' rent from $14.65 to $15.85.
yeah, and I know the jumps sound high, but you got to remember that everything we did when we raised rents was still keeping it a little under. We weren't at top of market. We weren't
Yeah.
trying to go to the highest. We weren't trying to rape the tenants on rent. We were, on the last raise we had to do the last raise. Otherwise, the debt service, coverage ratio
Yeah.
wasn't going to work. So that was such a requirement. It kind of timed out. But we were patient on this one. Obviously, I would have loved to have gone through and done it faster, but everything worked out. So we go through that, and I want to kind of go through the lessons learned and kind of talk about this. So Misty, I'll let you start out. What lessons did you learn from this particular deal that we just finished up?
I would say don't sleep on the interest rates if they're low.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree with that.
I think we were preoccupied with getting our actual home uh, construction completed and stuff that took up a lot of my time.
Yeah,
And so I was like just putting that on the back burner.
yeah. We probably could have started. I think one thing we probably could have started the refi earlier
Hmm.
and had a better interest rate, and then still be able to accomplish the goal.
And chose a company that would lock in the rates
Yeah,
for longer and sooner
yeah, because the company we used did not lock in the rate until.
until they had final approval of our entity, and that took some back and forth getting
Yeah.
them to approve that.
Yeah, lender, man, can make a big difference. I think we probably
Yeah.
spent how long on the lender? The loan itself was crazy. It took
I think it
3 months.
you contacted them in late April.
Yeah, and this was just recent. It was in July or August that we finally closed,
So it took over 3 months to close this loan.
and a lot of it had to do with the back and forth of entity
Yep.
because we wanted to put it in a trust, and they didn't want to, which I get it. I mean, there's reasons for that, but then whenever we start sending over our other documents, they wanted to, they wanted, our boys' first name, their last name, their girlfriends, and
Complete blood panel.
yeah, the kids are 7 and 9. They don't have girlfriends. They wanted to know their names. They just wanted a lot. Well, a lot more than it's like it was one of those things where you go, man, like you're really ripping into me on this. Like,
Mhm.
you can clearly see who owns this thing, but so, and I think it just
And it
depends.
wasn't even changing. Like in the end, we ended up just the same ownership,
Yeah,
and it still took a while for them to approve
yeah.
those
Our
documents.
our hard money lender, awesome.
Yep.
They were awesome. And then I'll actually have them on the podcast. So if you guys ever if you ever need a hard money lender, Taylor and Terry Weekly. Uh, I'm not getting paid for this advertisement. They were just awesome. They're Emerald Dolphin, is their business, and knowledgeable, and they were so simple. It's just
Yes.
all about the deal. We
And
walked
quick.
in, yeah, it was quick. We walked in, like literally staying outside the property, and they were like, "We're good, we're good. All right, we're great," and that was it. I didn't have much more. And that wasn't the first property we approached them on. That was just the one that they were like, "Yeah, we're good with this one." So um, very simple, and that was one thing that I really liked. Is as you say, what'd you learn? Is that I think was a good one. Is they were
Don't
just
be
smooth.
scared of hard money.
Yeah, never be scared of hard money. Over the years, we never really liked using it because we just were, but when you run the deals right, I think that's,
It makes sense. I mean, we got everything out of the house that we put into it, and it's cash flowing. Not a whole lot, but it's cash flowing
yeah,
and still has the appreciation, and we have nothing in it.
yeah. Our payments, what now? It's in the 14s, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Was it 1440?
40.
So, I mean, yeah, you're not making a whole lot. You're making a dinner, a small trip to Old South Pancake House, right? That you get to take home. But that's not why we did it though. We did it for what? We did it for appreciation, some tax write off. We did it, we weren't doing it to get rich quick, but we also did it to where it's what I like to call, or what some people call, is the infinite returns. Now it's infinite returns. Like our money's completely out. We're not in the deal and we're done. And now we can just keep it moving. Um, and
Just maintain it.
and just maintain it, and that's it. And so appreciation will go up. We get some tax write-offs, and there's some benefits there. So those are the main things that why we did that deal. And of course, now we get to take that money, and if you guys, like, you probably saw me talk about, like Batman, we gotta find something else. What's the next part, right? So we got to find the next thing with it, but no rush. But we will find that. So any other lessons that you learned on that too? You can think of that maybe learn about foundation.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, learn more about foundation. So we've
So,
been pretty blessed to not have to deal with that
yeah.
um, a whole heck of a lot. And so this round was one that we did, and I wouldn't be scared of any foundation at all. Anyways, I wasn't like nervous about foundation stuff, but you did. I know we learned a little bit more as far as like piers and stuff, inner piers, outer piers. That was another one that we picked up on.
Yeah, I would say definitely get an engineer's report,
Hmm.
a third party, look at the structure, because when you call foundation companies and get quotes, you will get all kinds of quotes and differences of opinions.
Yeah.
And, if you call a foundation company out to look at it, of course you're going to need peers, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. Hardly any of them will say no work needs to be done.
Right.
So, so I do recommend, getting a engineer to come out and look at it and get that report from them, and
Hmm.
then you can call around and see, how much, get a quote based off of that scope of work,
Yeah.
what's needed.
Well, once we raised the house, we had a plumbing issue, right?
Yes.
And then we had to go fix that.
Yes.
And that was what the explain that. Once we raised it.
Yeah, they did the little test afterward, the hydrostatic test, make sure pressures and everything are still good. And there was a little, I guess, a break in the pipe or something right at the back side of the house, probably 5-6 feet down or something. So they did have to, fix that pipe. But other than that, that was like a $600 fix, so not that bad.
Yeah, but I know when we heard about it, we were like, "Oh, our buttholes got a little tight."
Yeah, I would definitely.
Like, "Oh snap!"
Another thing I would do is recommend doing that test not only after foundation work, but I would probably do it before foundation work as well.
Yeah,
And because that test is only $200-300 or something to get done, and it's worth it to know if you have any existing issues already.
yeah.
Because once they do the foundation, they put all that dirt back and then they test it.
You gotta redig it.
And a lot of the cost is the digging. And so if you know ahead of time that you have an issue and they're like right by the pipes and stuff and the mist of their digging.
Is it mist or mitts? Misty.
Can't get it out today. But while they're digging and already opened up, it's best
Yeah.
to take care of it then. So
Yeah,
I would probably recommend doing a before and after.
digging, right? The one thing in the world that's most expensive.
Yeah, just get a
Now,
dog.
anybody out there that drops out of high school, just start digging. You can make a lot of money.
We needed a dog that just dig right there.
You can use our dog Marshall. I brought Marshall. He's gonna dig for us
You
today.
need that husky back.
That's right. The husky that dug a whole lot. But I'm sure. I mean, like I said, we learned some lessons on it. I feel like it was a success. By the time we were finished with it, we were a little concerned just because of interest rate and things that we were kind of cutting close on some items that I thought maybe we weren't going to be able to make the extra 4,000, but it ended up working out. And um, so I think it was a good deal overall. I don't think there was anything wrong with it. I think it wasn't a home run, but
It could have been better. It could have definitely been a lot worse.
yeah. So our
it
new
was
loan
good.
now is what? It's like 150,000.
150.
So, and if it's valued at 225, give or
We
take
still
some
have
money.
equity in it.
I mean, by the time you're done selling it, you could have 50, 60, $70,000 equity in it, if you just sold it, but obviously I think if you were to sell it, you do some work to it, so I'd
Yeah.
say, at minimum 50,000 equity. So, one little letter that turned into, a decent amount of equity. That's kind of the way that I look at it is, yeah, I don't have that money in my pocket, but at the end of the day that, those letters, which weren't stupidly expensive to do, turned into,
It's actually one of the cheapest marketing.
right. Yeah. We've done a lot of marketing. I can tell you from firsthand experience. So, but just, and then holding our ground because that wasn't the only person we talked to from that row of letters.
Mm-hmm.
Being persistent. I think the lesson in this for anybody listening to this could be, following up. They always say fortune's in the follow up, and just follow up and don't be pushy, but just be consistent and and then try to make sure that your follow up is consistent, but you're not overly pushy.
Yeah, that could be a big turnoff.
Yeah, that could be a huge turnoff. So, and that wasn't, I wouldn't say a lesson for us that we learned. It was just something that we did. So anyone listening, that can be a lesson for them to know, hey, I don't want to be overly pushy. So when you're talking with sellers, so, and then just the the kitchen table, like kind of putting yourself out there, and these are just lessons I would give to someone off of this deal, just to, let someone know you're serious. Write the contract out, don't just give them the talk.
Pay to play.
That's right. Pay to play.
Get that option period.
That's actually,
put it under contract.
that's actually was my thought process was to put it, was just, I will pay you. Did we do $200? I was like $200 just to say yes or no. Like
just to get a peek of the inside.
that's all I want to do. Just show me what you got.
Yeah, because when he's like, I want 130 for it, and we've never seen the inside, and of course he says, what's the condition? Oh, it's the best property in the neighborhood. Well, we weren't going to take his word for that, but we had no idea what the inside would look like and how much work it needed. But based off of the appearance of the outside and the neighborhood, and we're familiar with that neighborhood and what it's doing, we said 130 is probably a good price. However, the unknown of the inside, but we were willing to put up the $200, and so it's worth $200 to get the chance to find out.
I would have put it 500 because I
Yeah.
also knew we went and looked on the MLS on what had closed, and there was a home for 230 that closed a few houses down in the corner,
hmm
and so I knew I'm like that's $100,000 difference.
It was bigger and upgraded, but
It
yes.
wasn't that much bigger.
Mm.
It wasn't that much bigger. I remember that it wasn't that much bigger, but I knew that it closed for that. So I'm like, okay, so that's $100,000 difference. But then say 200 is about where it was when we found it. Our hard money lender said, hey, it's going to be a little, it's less than that, but that's their job, right?
Yeah.
They're not going to give you the full. I mean,
Mhm.
they got to be conservative. So I
Yeah.
completely understand that. I looked at him like, damn, he didn't. But I totally understand that. They know what it can be and what it should be worth. It's the name of the game. As the passive investor in the deal, they're going to work to protect themselves and with the equity
Write
spread.
their insurance plan in
Yeah, that's it. Write their
there.
insurance plan in there just in case, right? In case stuff goes wrong. So I think lots of lessons learned. I hope that anyone that listens to this, know this isn't just a hey, let's talk about what the stories did. It's more, it's a deal breakdown. Kind of the ins and outs, any things that we did wrong, any things that
Mhm.
we could have went that we did right. I don't think we did too much wrong on this deal. A lot of it came down to just we waited a little too long on some
Yeah.
of the stuff. I think that was probably the worst part of it.
Also, interest rates don't usually change that drastically in that short amount of time.
Yeah.
But
So we will refinance this one out though.
yeah.
Once this
Yeah, we
our
did make sure not to have too long of a prepayment penalty on this loan.
yeah, we have the step up. So
Mhm.
the step down. So 3 year step down.
Mhm.
So somewhere in between year one or one more year and completely finished. With that 3 year, we'll end up refinancing that
Mhm.
thing, which is fine. And heck, man, we might even do another cash out just to. I mean, might as well, right? Pull a couple extra,
Mhm.
$5,000-6,000 out of it or something, 10,000. Just give me a little extra money while I'm at it. A little piggy bank because we're gonna have to do it again anyway. So,
Mhm.
you guys heard it first right here. We're gonna do another one in a few years. You might as. I mean, it's not a bad deal if you think about it. You can go through and refinance that with a small cash out refi. The value should have gone up some,
Yeah,
hopefully,
and we're
and then
not at our maximum um, cash pullout yet.
yeah,
We still have more equity in it.
yeah, there's still more. So, you guys heard it first. We're gonna take more out of it later. So, it's like the Christmas story. It's the gift, or was it Christmas Vacation? The gift that keeps on giving. Don't take it home with you, Clark. Don't go fall in love with it, Clark. I'm taking it home with me when we leave next year. So. All right, guys, that is the deal breakdown for this particular property. I hope you guys enjoyed that, learned a little few lessons. I know that we did, and I hope we can, help impart some lessons on for you. And we'll catch you guys next time.